Attraction does not deepen in the middle of a conversation. It deepens afterward. When the evening is over, when the car door closes, when she is sitting in the quiet of her own room, that is where emotional connection expands or dissolves. In those silent hours, her mind does not replay the mundane logistics of the interaction. It does not remember the casual pleasantries, the polite small talk, or the weather. It remembers the emotional echoes. Human memory is inherently selective. It discards routine data and preserves feelings. More specifically, it preserves moments where the nervous system experienced a sudden, quiet shift in state. A moment where time seemed to slow down slightly, where the conversation dropped beneath the surface, and where something authentic was communicated without pretense or performance. Psychologists often speak of emotional imprinting, the process by which a specific sensory cue, an unspoken pause, or a particular combination of words anchors a feeling inside someone's memory. When an emotional imprint is formed, it creates an open loop in the imagination. The mind naturally returns to that loop, replaying the moment, analyzing the energy behind it, and attempting to settle into the comfort of what was felt. Most men focus entirely on real-time presence. They measure the success of an interaction by how much she is laughing in the moment, how quickly she responds, or how smoothly the date appears to be going. But a date can be pleasant and completely forgettable. A conversation can be comfortable and leave zero psychological footprint. The difference lies in whether you leave behind an echo. When you communicate with grounded emotional certainty, you give her mind something to hold on to long after you have stepped away. You plant a quiet focal point in her thoughts, a memory that continues to resonate throughout her day, not because you forced it, but because it carried genuine weight. Today, we are going to explore 3 specific 3-word phrases that create this exact kind of emotional imprint. These are not manipulative tactics or clever tricks. They are expressions of presence, emotional attunement, and clarity that speak directly to the psychology of attraction. To understand why words hold the power to linger in someone's mind, you first have to understand how imagination feeds emotional attachment. Attraction requires space to grow. It does not thrive under constant, suffocating contact, nor does it develop through endless, transactional text messages. It develops in absence. It develops when a woman has the quiet room necessary to process how a man made her feel when they were together. Words act as the raw material for that imagination. When a man speaks with hesitation, when his language is diluted by qualifiers, or when he conceals his intent behind safe, polite pleasantries, he gives her imagination nothing to build upon. There is no shape to his energy. His communication is like water. It fills the moment, but it slips through her fingers the second he leaves. However, when a man uses language that is clear, resonant, and emotionally present, those words act like anchors. They attach themselves to a specific feeling. Consider how the human brain processes language. General information is processed in the analytical centers of the brain. It is cataloged and quickly archived. But language that carries emotional resonance, words that register as authentic, intentional, and direct, activates the limbic system. It triggers a physiological response. Her heart rate changes slightly. Her focus sharpens. Her body registers safety and depth simultaneously. When she recalls those words later, she does not just remember the vocabulary. She re-experiences the physiological state she was in when you said them. This is the key to creating an emotional echo. You are not trying to give her a clever puzzle to solve. You are offering a moment of absolute clarity that stands out from the noise of her daily life. In a world full of indirect communication, tentative men, and performative interactions, a man who can articulate grounded emotion without fear is fundamentally unforgettable. If this resonates, subscribe to Femme Psychology with Emma. We explore attraction with depth, not gimmicks. The first phrase carries a level of directness that most men spend their entire lives avoiding. I want you. Consider how the average man expresses desire. He softens it. He hides it beneath layers of indirect logic. He says things like, we should hang out again sometime if you're not too busy, or let me know when you're free, and maybe we can grab a drink. He believes he is being polite. He believes he is being respectful of her space, but psychologically, what he is actually doing is abdicating emotional responsibility. He is expressing a passive wish and asking her to do the heavy lifting of interpreting his interest, validating his confidence, and steering the direction of the relationship. I want you operates on a completely different psychological wavelength. It is not a plea. It is not an interrogation. It is an honest, unvarnished declaration of personal intent. It shifts the dynamic from passive hope to grounded truth. Imagine a realistic scenario. You are sitting with her near the end of an evening. The ambient noise of the room has quieted down. The conversation has naturally drifted into a pause. Most men feel an overwhelming urge to break that pause with filler words or a self-deprecating joke. Instead, you remain grounded. You meet her gaze with calm, unhurried posture. You do not lean in with nervous urgency. You simply let the moment rest, look directly at her, and say, "I want you." Notice the immediate psychological contrast. You have not asked for permission to exist. You have not asked her to validate your value. You have simply shared your reality with total transparency. What happens inside her mind in that moment? Her analytical defenses drop because there is no game being played. There is no hidden strategy to decode. The sheer certainty of the phrase cuts straight through social pretense. It forces her nervous system to acknowledge your presence. It communicates that you are a man who is comfortable with his own desire, a man who does not view his attraction as something to be ashamed of or hidden away. In the hours following that interaction, those 3 words will echo far more loudly than 2 hours of entertaining banter ever could. She will remember the exact look in your eyes. She will remember the steady, unhurried cadence of your voice. And because you offered that declaration with calm self-possession rather than desperate demand, her mind will naturally replay the moment, savoring the rarity of a man who knows precisely what he wants. The second phrase shifts the emotional axis from desire to profound recognition. I notice you. There is a vast psychological canyon between giving a woman a compliment and truly making her feel seen. Most compliments women receive are surface-level observations. Men compliment her dress, her hair, her appearance, or her smile. While these statements can be pleasant, they are entirely generic. She knows that any man could say those exact same words to any woman. They carry no personal weight, and as a result, they leave no lasting impression on her heart or her memory. To make a woman think about you when you are not there, you must offer her something far more rare: the experience of being genuinely witnessed. When you say, "I notice you," followed by a quiet observation of her character, her internal state, or a subtle habit she thought went unseen, you are offering a mirror to her soul. Let us ground this in a real scenario. You are engaged in conversation, perhaps in a quiet corner of a lounge or walking together after a long day. She is speaking about her work, her family, or a passion project. Instead of offering generic agreement or waiting for your turn to talk about yourself, you are observing her closely. You see the quiet discipline she carries, or the way her energy softens when she talks about something she truly loves. You pause, meet her eye, and say quietly, "I notice you." You then follow it with a precise, observational truth. "I notice how much care you put into people, even when you're exhausted." Or, "I notice how quickly you adapt when things get chaotic." Psychologically, this triggers an immediate release of oxytocin, the neurochemical associated with deep emotional bonding and trust. You are no longer just a man she is conversing with. You have become a safe harbor. You have demonstrated that you possess the emotional maturity and focus to look past the external armor she shows the rest of the world. What most men do instead is offer cheap flattery in the hope of buying validation. They praise her constantly, hoping to be liked. But flattery creates distance because it feels transactional. Genuine recognition, however, creates vulnerability. When she is alone later that day, those words will stay with her. She will think to herself, "He actually sees me. He pays attention to who I am, not just what I present." That feeling of being deeply understood is addictive because it is so extraordinarily rare. It turns your image in her mind from a casual acquaintance into an irreplaceable emotional anchor. The third phrase is an anchor designed to pull her out of internal distraction and hold her in the shared present moment. Stay with me. We live in a world of profound digital and mental fragmentation. People are rarely ever fully present in the room they are occupying. Their minds are constantly racing, thinking about past anxieties, future obligations, checking phones, or managing internal social guards. In dating and relationships, this mental drift happens constantly. A woman may be physically sitting beside you, but her mind is miles away, managing her own internal checklist or feeling the subtle pull of insecurity. Stay with me is a subtle, grounded re-anchoring of her presence into yours. It is critical to understand what this phrase is not. It is not a clingy, desperate plea for her not to leave the date. It is not spoken with anxiety, nor is it a request for her to stay longer at the end of the night when she has somewhere to be. It is an invitation into emotional presence. Consider this moment. You are sitting close together. She is talking, but suddenly her attention shifts. She gets lost in a thought, or her focus drifts to the noise around the room, or she pulls back emotionally into a moment of self-consciousness. Instead of getting defensive, instead of ignoring it, or asking anxiously, "Is everything okay?" you reach out gently. You might place a calm hand on her wrist, or simply drop your vocal pitch to a quiet, steady register. You look at her and say, "Stay with me." The psychological impact of this phrase is immediate and profound. It acts as an emotional reset button. It breaks her internal loop of overthinking or distraction. It communicates without a single shred of aggression that you are so completely rooted in the present moment that you can feel her slipping away, and you are inviting her back into safety with you. Most men react to a woman's emotional drift with insecurity. They pull back themselves, or they try to become overly entertaining to reclaim her attention. Both responses signal to her nervous system that you are easily destabilized by her shifts in focus. When you calmly say, "Stay with me," you demonstrate absolute emotional containment. You are telling her, "I am here, grounded and unshakable. Step out of your head and come back into this space with me." She feels held. She feels guided. Her nervous system relaxes because she realizes she does not have to be the one maintaining the energy of the interaction. When she reflects on the time spent with you later, that specific moment will stand out above all others. She will remember the feeling of being pulled back from her own mental chaos into the absolute calming presence of a grounded man. It must be emphasized with absolute clarity that these phrases do not work as magic spells. They are not scripts to be memorized and recited by a man whose body language is telling a completely different story. Words are merely the physical vessel. The underlying emotional certainty is the content inside that vessel. If a man attempts to say, "I want you," but his voice rises in pitch, his breathing is shallow, his shoulders are slouched, and his eyes dart around the room searching for her reaction, the phrase will fail entirely. In fact, it will backfire. It will land as performative, awkward, and incongruent. Congruence is the absolute alignment of your internal state, your nonverbal signals, and your spoken words. To deliver these phrases in a way that creates a permanent emotional imprint, you must master 3 fundamental nonverbal anchors. First, your breath. Before you speak words of profound intent or depth, your nervous system must be settled. Deep, diaphragmatic breathing lowers your vocal pitch and removes the subtle edge of anxiety from your voice. It communicates to her body that you are completely relaxed in your own skin. Second, your stillness. Nervous energy manifests through constant micro-movements, fidgeting with a glass, tapping fingers, adjusting posture repeatedly, or rushing your speech. When you deliver these phrases, practice absolute physical stillness. Let the silence around the words exist. Do not rush to fill the air immediately after speaking. Allow the statement to land in the space between you. Third, your gaze. Eye contact must be steady, soft, and unhurried. It is not a hard, dominant stare designed to intimidate. It is an open, warm, unblinking presence that demonstrates you are completely comfortable with emotional intimacy. When your breath is deep, your body is still, and your eyes are steady, these 3 words cease to be mere language. They become undeniable truths. They become an experience that her mind will return to, replaying the tone, the calm, and the weight of your presence long after the night has ended. Attraction is not built through force, constant control, or endless performance. It is built through the strategic creation of lingering energy. When you step away from an interaction, you want her mind to encounter space, not emptiness, but space filled with the emotional memory of what you shared. A man who tries too hard leaves behind exhaustion. A man who communicates with indirect timidity leaves behind nothing at all. But a man who speaks with grounded intent, who genuinely witnesses her character, and who holds her calmly in the present moment, leaves behind an emotional legacy that expands in his absence. She will move through her next day carrying the echo of your presence. She will hear your voice in the quiet pauses between her daily tasks. She will find herself reflecting on the feeling of safety, certainty, and depth that she experienced around you. Because at this stage of life, true masculine appeal is not about competing for attention. It is about offering a level of presence so clear, so calm, and so unapologetically authentic that every other interaction she experiences pales in comparison. You do not need to chase her thoughts. You simply need to say what you mean what you say, and be the kind of grounded presence that her mind naturally wants to return to. Which phrase feels hardest for you to say naturally? Comment below. I read every thought you share, and if you value psychological clarity, emotional intelligence, and non-manipulative relationship depth, subscribe to Femme Psychology with Emma. Tell me where you are watching from. I will see you in the next one.